Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. Today, I am very excited. I'm going to be starting a 2-part series, mainly because I'm not going to be able to cover everything in both episodes, but I want to talk to you about one of the mantras and beliefs that I have about PMDD relationships that I think is not widely known. And I also think that it's not really recognized. So when we talk about in the realms of how I'm always talking about how to stop the monthly breakups, I want you to always know that that's PMDD related breakups, right? If you're only breaking up because of PMDD, I can give you the tools to, navigate that, basically to not break up every single month because you're having issues with navigating PMDD in your relationship. So that's what I stand for first and foremost. But when I'm talking about relationships as a whole, what I want you to really know and realize, and really I want this to really sink in with you, is that some relationships are here for a season and some are for a lifetime. And I know whenever I've said this before, I've always gotten this question of, well, Dr. Rose, how do I know if my relationship with my PMDD partner is meant to be for a season or if it's meant to be for a lifetime? And I really want to go over the tools on how you can really ask yourself this question and come to a clear answer, because I had to do that for myself. I had to realize that as much as I really wanted, desire, needed all of the things about my ex PMDD partner, I wanted that relationship to be for a lifetime. And I did a lot of things that I wouldn't even have normally done or recommended because I was trying to force it to be for a lifetime when it was really just for a season. And when I came to that realization, it was like an aha moment, like the light bulb went off. A weight was lifted off of my shoulder because I felt like I was forcing something to be for a lifetime that was only meant to be for a season. And I know when you're thinking about, oh, but you were married, like it was a whole marriage. And I think that when I went into it, with me and my PMDD partner, I think the way it began was we weren't thinking about, we wanted a lifetime. We both knew that we wanted a lifetime. We were both in a place where we knew we wanted a lifelong relationship, but I don't think we went through the proper premarital, stages, counselings and things to see if our relationship could last for a lifetime based off of who we were and who we were going to become. So we are two completely different people right now than we were, years ago, but it was an indication that we were going to grow into these individuals. And there were certain foundational things that really needed to be there that just weren't there. And that's okay. I always say that, I talked about on previous episodes about being bitter. I don't believe that my relationship with my ex-PMDD partner was an accident. I don't believe that it was not meant to be. I don't believe that I shouldn't have had it. That experience that I had is something that I will forever cherish, something that I will forever look back on and with love and and all of these things, and appreciation and gratitude. But when I really had a chance to objectively look at it, like look at it outside of myself, I saw how it was just for a season. And I was like, man, but I really, sometimes we force things that are meant for a season for a lifetime, and vice versa. Some things we think it's like, for a season only. We're like, oh, I'm just temporarily going to be with this person, blah, blah. But they're really meant to be your forever person. And so when I always, ask you or ask my private clients to say, is this your person? There's levels to that. Like, is this your person for the season that you're in? And I want you, this series, this two-part series, two, maybe three. I want you to really I want it to be a time where you can really stop and ask yourself, is this your person for a lifetime, or is this your person for a season? Both of them are beautiful and both of them are okay. None of them are wrong. I remember thinking like, oh, I can't possibly break up. Like it has to be forever. It has to be, or it's trash. Like I literally felt like if I break up, it's done. It's horrible. It wasn't meant to be. But I also remembered I couldn't think that because I was married before, which is how I had my daughter, who's 14 right now. And I fully agree that, my relationship with my ex-husband that I had my daughter with was for a season. And I've lived and I've experienced different seasons. And I think the acknowledgement of that, it just helps you put everything in perspective. So I'm going to give you the 10 signs that your relationship might be for a season and not for a lifetime. And then on the next episode, I'm going to be explaining to you what it looks like if your, relationship is for a lifetime. And I think in recognizing this, you're giving yourself like some grace. When I say grace, for those of you that don't know, is you're not being so hard on yourself. Like I was so hard on myself towards the end of when the breakup happened. I was so hard. And the reason why I wanted to do this episode is because, as me and my ex-PMDD partner broke up, he literally texted me and he was like, I'm actually going to read the text because it really inspired me. I really was like, oh my gosh, like and I love that he's still in that place of really really sharing with me the process, because I've really been there for him to just process everything, not avoid anything, not avoid any emotions, not move forward with bitterness like I talked about. But we had a lot of things together, maybe bills, like phone bills, like he was on my family plan. And he literally texted me. He said, it's crazy how every bit that we had is finally back to being individuals. All my stuff was brought back and put into storage, and my phone and insurance is now back in my name. It's crazy how over time, everything came back full circle. And what he meant by that is everything that we put together. And it's crazy that he had this realization because I had it yesterday when I was on the phone with my sister. But what he's saying is everything that when we first met, there were certain things that we got together, and combined as one, right? When you're in a relationship, the goal is to be as one, to not be two separate individuals. You're no longer an individual, you're a couple now. And so all of those things over time, even before we knew that it was the beginning of the end or all the things, they slowly started to be separated. So for example, this is, by the time you're listening to this, it'll be 2024. July 4th weekend of 2023, we had a disagreement, argument, whatever you want to call it. And he said, I want to move all my stuff back to storage. I want to take my stuff, all the stuff that I have in the house, and I'm going to take it back with me. And so he did that. And we still continued the relationship after that. And then as time went on, the intimacy started to lack. And so as time went on, everything was slowly becoming more individualized, meaning I was starting to do more things on my own. He was starting to do more things on his own. He started to have more things for himself. We were becoming back. We were two people in the beginning. We became one, and then we went back to two. And so he was saying it was like a full circle moment. But the fact that we were still talking to each other with so much love and adoration and all of these things, it wasn't bitter and it wasn't bad. And every breakup doesn't have to be bitter. Every breakup doesn't have to be bad because we recognize the value in everything that we created on the span of this temporary relationship. And so we realized this was just for a season. There were so many times that I, know that I needed my specific PMDD partner that I had for the season that I was in. I was getting my doctorate. He came on the podcast. We were going through a lot of things that helped so many couples in the Breakup Proof Academy. And it's just so much that I know that I wouldn't been able to get from anyone else. And, we're going into another season of our lives. And he's going straight into retirement. I'm going into retirement. I've been in the military for over 20 years now. Been in the military for over 20 years now. We're very close to completing that chapter. I'm going to wait a couple more years until my daughter has graduated high school, but like I'm going to go into the empty nester, season where I'm not going to have a child at home. And there's just so many changes and seasons that we're going into. We're preparing ourselves for the next season. And then when you really think about what is it that you need in the next season, I think that was the biggest thing for me is I started to desire different things. And it wasn't based off of different things because because of he's a bad person. I just wanted and needed different things for the phase of my life that I'm going into. And I knew that like certain things became a non-negotiable that I really would have probably in the past, I would have been like, oh, well, take it or leave it. Like the physical intimacy, the physical touch. We both literally said we would not be, well, he said, okay, so let me back up. He said he would not be in another long distance relationship. Because we were apart for 5 years. That was too hard for him. And I think us being apart really left the door open for him to just acknowledge and see what it is that he needed. He likes coming home and there's a person there that's happy to see him every single day, that they can talk about the day and all of these things. He loves that. And I think that that's amazing. And well, yeah, let's just focus on him first and then we'll go to me. But yeah, I think it was and I saw that even sometimes I would think about when I was towards the end and I was trying to make things work, I was really thinking about, I know what it is that he needs, but I also know that that's not in alignment with where I am in my life right now. But I felt like maybe if I could force myself to be in a different season, then I could be the person that he needs for where he's at. Right. That's the place that I was at. I was like, okay, I just need to be different because I know what it is that he needs. But then I realized there is literally somebody that is in the same season that he's in that's going to be able to give him the same things that he actually needs in the moment. And they're not going to have to force themselves to do it because the things that he was needing are good things. He wants someone that's always with him all the time, that's really loving and open and happy. You don't have to always talk about deep stuff. You kind of just go with the flow. You go to dinners and visit family and you're very family oriented and extroverted and all of these things. And that's what he needs to feel loved. And I remember there was times where I was trying to force myself to be that person for him when it really wasn't in alignment with what I needed. So it was almost like somebody had to give up their reality in order to be the person that other partner needed in that season. So I want you to ask yourself that. That's one of the first things that I had to really figure out is the reason why I knew that, our relationship was for a season was because what my PMDD partner needed was not who I was for the season that I was in personally. Are you having to change yourself? Like, are you having to be a completely different person? That's what I would have had to do. If I would have said, you know what, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make this work, blah, blah, I would have had to become a completely different person. I would have had to live outside of my purpose, meaning what I'm doing for you all, what I'm doing for my private clients, what I'm doing for all of the other things that I have going on, that attention needed to be specifically on him for what it is that he needed. And that's okay. I feel like for my ex-PMDD partner, he would be really good for someone that was maybe doing one thing. Maybe they had one thing, one job, whatever. And that's all that they had going on. And then they could put all of that extra attention on him. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I almost tried to do that. But what I do as a doctor, number one, I worked so long for it, 5 years for it. And it's my passion. It's almost like it chose me. I didn't choose it. It chose me. PMDD, working with PMDD partners. The reason why I really say it chose me is because I literally still have PMDD. Like I'm not in that space where I'm saying I'm a practitioner. I've healed my PMDD. I'm not even going to get into that, but I've not healed any part of my PMDD. I am coping with it. I know how to navigate it. I know how to manage my symptoms. I know all the other words, but I will never tell you I cured my PMDD. I've not done it. I experienced the same level of distraught and agony and suffering. I suffer with you. And I think that is a gift and a curse in itself. It's a gift because I'm able to relate to all of my private clients in a way that I don't think anyone without PMDD can possibly do. If you don't have PMDD, you probably have some level of empathy. I mean, you have to be, unless you're a narcissist. Like when you hear about the suffering that we're going through, you probably like feel bad, like, oh my gosh, that must feel horrible. I can't imagine. But when you experience PMDD, it's on a whole other level, and it helps me to reach you exactly where you are. So that's the gift and the curse aspect of it. But for my ex-PMDD partner, I think that he would need someone that maybe, when we're talking about seasons, maybe didn't have PMDD, because a lot of, or maybe they cope with their PMDD differently. Because when I got into that avoidant state in my PMDD relationship, it was crushing him. Right. So that's one of the key things, or the key ways that I knew that this is just for a season, because I'm going to have PMDD for the unforeseeable future. I don't have plans of getting an ovarectomy, where that's where you get the uterus and the ovaries removed. I don't foresee that for me. Like I'm in it for the long haul, whether I want to be or not. So the symptoms that I was having, or the way that I cope with my PMDD, let me know that this is not for a lifetime. Because for a lifetime, the things that I do, my morning routine, my individual time, my way that I pour into others, my all of those things were not in alignment with what it is that he needed. It was that he needed the exact opposite of that. And so that goes into the first step of how you realize that your relationship with your PMDD partner is just for a season. You have limited future plans. What you see for yourself in the future, like what your future looks like. But you don't see how they're going to fit into it. So I know what I want to do with my PMDD, partners and the business, and in love with PMDD and everything, which is why for 2024, I'm starting my Rise with Dr. Rose retreats, my couples retreats. And I'm going to be traveling and meeting with different PMDD partners, the couples and individuals even. And I see that for my future, for when for right now, and then also when I'm fully retired. Like I see that being the way my life goes, is that I travel around, um, having private sessions and really pouring into the PMDD partners. And I don't know that that's exactly in alignment with what it is. Well, okay, I can't say I don't know. I do know that that's not in alignment with what it is that he would want. He's very family oriented. And I think when you start to look at what is important to your PMDD partner, one of the final things that was like the final straw, was when we were trying to work things out during like the Christmas time. And I was like, hey, we're going to Mexico. Like, you can come with us, like all of these things. And he was like, I don't care what you say. I'm going to go spend time with, my blood family. I'm going to go spend time with my blood family, whether you like it or not. This is what I need, all these things. And so for my future, holidays, every single holiday, not every single holiday, but holidays at home, that's not really my thing. And maybe that has to do with childhood trauma. I'm not saying we can't ever go, like I wasn't willing to go home with him. I absolutely did before, but for my future, I would have never foreseen being with someone that prioritizes their biological family, like their blood family, as he stated, above the relationship. meaning our relationship needs to be first. Everything needs to stem from what we have going on. Meaning if we have issues, we need to prioritize these issues to deal with these issues so that when we go spend time with family, it's not crazy. I will not even begin to tell you how many private sessions that I have had where there's been so much drama with the couple because you put yourself in a stressful situation where you're going around family for the holidays. You already have tensions, you already have issues, and then everything just comes pouring out, especially with PMDD. Like that's not a thing for me. So I just think moving forward in the future, if your goals are not in alignment as far as the future is concerned, that could be a sign that like, hey, this is a seasonal relationship, because in the future, you're not okay with something that they're completely okay with. He was okay with going around the family, whether we had issues or not, and just pretending like we're happy, taking pictures, being in matching pajamas, all the things, even though we have a gazillion issues and we're barely speaking at home. That's not okay with me. And it's never going to be okay with me in the future. And I think when you kind of draw that line in the sand of not that it's just not okay with you, but it's never going to be okay with you. Like you're never going to be okay with it. I remember thinking about that because I was like, so even though I have my daughter and you're her stepdad, like you're genuinely choosing your biological family over spending time with our daughter, even though she has nothing to do with this. Like I was just like, oh, that's that like was the straw. I was like, so you would choose them over us? Like, yeah, that just in the future, I would never be okay with that. But in his mind, he's like, this is what I need in the moment. This is what I need right now. So yeah. And so I was like, okay. And I didn't see anything wrong with the fact of wanting to be around family. So it's not that, but I just think that there's a prioritization that needs to take place. And sometimes for some people, you don't have the same priorities. So I would say, look at that next. That could be number two. Look at the priorities. What are your priorities in life? Because if they're not in alignment, you're always going to get to this brick wall and you're going to be like, you're not going to be on the same page. And so I know, you're gonna go through a period of trying to force it. And I was there, and it was so painful. And like one day we're good, one day we're bad, one day we're good. Like I remember sometimes when I was in PMDD, I would like wake up and I have to like replay in my mind, like, are we good? Are we speaking? Are we talking? Are we arguing? Like it was too confusing for me in PMDD. Like it was so overwhelming because the level of stress that I was under was horrible, like horrible. And it's almost like a PMDD thing. It's like what is the level of stress that you're going to be able to handle? So the next way that you may be able to figure out if your relationship is just for a season is if you have a lack of emotional investment, which is exactly what happened with us. Is when you start to be emotionally distant, and you don't have that deep emotional connection with your PMDD partner. That may be because it's not going to be for a lifetime because you cannot sustain a relationship without emotional connection. This is why I always say make sure if you've gotten to that point with your PMDD partner where you just you're not emotionally connected, that means you immediately need to get help. And that's why one of the reasons why I said I'm having this Rise with Dr. Rose, couples retreat is so you get to that point where you're reconnecting in a space and you're prioritizing the relationship and saying, you know what, we're not emotionally connected. We're not in a good place. We're not at all of it's bad. And so what we need to do is we need to get back on track. So if you're in that place where that's how you're feeling, you're not emotionally connected and you want this relationship to be for a lifetime, you have to prioritize it. And that's what the retreat is for, is to reconnect you with your PMDD partner, give you the tools for what is specifically drawing you apart, making you have the same fights, making you have the same arguments. So if you've not done that, if you've not taken advantage of signing up for the retreat, and getting that pre-retreat session that's complimentary to you done so that I can customize everything, you need to make sure you do that. If you know that this is you, if I'm talking to you and you're like, that's me, Dr. Rose, like I'm in this place where I want this PMDD relationship to be for a lifetime, but I also know that we're not in a good place. And if we continue doing these things the same way that we're doing them, we're not going to last for a lifetime. Sometimes you have the ability to determine whether this relationship is going to last for a lifetime or a season based off of your effort. If there's a lack of effort in repairing the issues that you have in your PMDD relationship, you can turn a relationship that is meant for a lifetime in just a season. And that goes into the next tool, which is the unwillingness to compromise. That's the next sign. So any PMDD relationship that you're in, you're going to have to compromise on certain things specifically for PMDD. What happens in PMDD? What doesn't happen in PMDD? What do you need in PMDD? What do you need when you're not in PMDD? For me, it's compromising on what your relationship looks like during PMDD. For me, my relationship was completely different in PMDD than it was when I was not in PMDD. And I needed a partner that was okay with that. But when you get to a place where your PMDD partner is not willing to be in a different place. So I remember my ex-PMDD partner was saying, I was like, I live my life on a cycle. Therefore, I need different things during different times of the month. That's just how it is. And he's like, well, I don't need different things on a cycle. Like, I'm the same all month long. And I'm like, you're a man. I know this. So what he was basically saying is when I was in my follicular days, he still loves the follicular me, the me when I'm in my follicular days and I'm open and I'm affectionate, I'm loving, I'm fun, I'm all the things. That's what he signed up for. That's what he wanted in the future moving forward. And when I got into PMDD and I was more internal, meaning I was more introverted, I just wanted to chill, I wanted some space and time for myself. He didn't want that. So when you're thinking about, is this person for a season or are they for a lifetime? It means for a lifetime, can your PMDD partner handle the way that you are in PMDD and how different it is from when you're in your follicular days or your menstruation or your ovulation? Are they able to handle the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs? And if they're not, that's okay. You don't have to fault them. Being a PMDD partner is not for everybody. It's not. Everybody's not meant to be with someone who has PMDD. Some are, and I have so many private clients and have seen them just needing the tools and then they use the tools and they're amazing because they're willing to do it and it doesn't impact them. They're just like, oh, I know that I want to be with my PMDD partner. I know this is my person, but I just need the tools. I just need to know what it looks like so I know what to do. PMDD partners, a partner that doesn't have PMDD are so stressed out and overwhelmed because they feel like they're trying to do the right thing, but it's always the wrong thing. So as long as I give them the tools on, hey, this is what you need to do, they're willing to do it and that's it. And then they're for a lifetime because they're amazing. It's not causing them suffering. They're not saying, I don't want to compromise. I know that they need more space in PMDD, but I'm not willing to give it to them. Or I know that they need more attention in PMDD, but I'm not willing to give it to them. When you're in that place where you're unwilling to compromise, where you want what you want when you want it, then that means that's going to be a relationship that's going to be for a season because you have to be flexible when you're in a relationship with someone who has PMDD. So if you're really thinking about, is my partner for a season or are they my partner for a lifetime? You have to ask yourself these questions. And the last one is if you're having the frequent breakups, the PMDD monthly breakups, we need to get to the root of what it is. Why are you having these breakups every single month? And this is what we do in the retreat that I have coming up and then also with my private clients. What is the reason? There's always a root cause, right? It's not just a thing that happens where I know that it's very common for all of us to go through relationships and have, oh, I want to break up with you. It's because you're stressed and overwhelmed about something that's going on in a relationship. We're going to figure out what it is. And when we get to the root of it, you find out, okay, is this a seasonal thing? Or is this a lifetime thing? Is this something that can be shifted and changed and then we can work through it? Or is this something that is, no, this is not going to work? If I give you a tool, this is how you can tell. If I give you a tool and I say, okay, I've gotten to the root of this, the reason why you and your PMDD partner keep having these frequent monthly breakups is because there is an unmet need and your partner needs more intimacy. And so if I tell the other partner, hey, the partner needs more intimacy, that's what keeps coming up. That's why they're acting out. That's why they're acting like this. That's what they're saying mean and hurtful things. It's because they're not getting their needs for physical intimacy. And I've seen this so many times. And then you say, as the other person that has PMDD, when I go into PMDD, I don't want to be physically intimate. I don't want my partner to touch me. I don't want them to be around me. I'm disgusted by them. I'm not attracted to them. And you're not willing to do anything about it. You're just like, it is what it is. That's how I feel. Well, this is a relationship for a season. You know why? Because your partner that doesn't have PMDD is always going to be in that place of needing that physical intimacy. It's not going to go away. They're going to be able to suppress it because they really love you and want to be with you for a while. But it's a seasonal relationship because at the end of the day, if you're not willing to come out of yourself while you're in PMDD and physically be intimate with that partner, if they're telling you that that's what they need, if you're physically not able to do that, and maybe it's I feel horrible in PMDD, I just can't. I was doing a lot of things in my PMDD relationship that didn't feel comfortable for me, that I didn't necessarily want to do, but I knew that it's what my partner needed. And if you're not in a place where you're willing to do that for the sake of your PMDD partner, meaning this is what they need in a relationship and you're not willing to do it, it's a seasonal relationship then. Because it's never going to last for a lifetime because you're not willing to do the things that your partner is telling you they need in a relationship for a lifetime. People can say, I can go through this for a couple of months. I can go through but when life happens, here's what happens. When stress happens in someone's life, they lean on what it is that they absolutely need without a doubt. The same thing happened with my ex-PMDD partner. He went through a lot of health scares, a lot of health issues, and a lot of stress in his work. And so all of the things that he was suppressing and feeling like, oh, I can do without this. I can do without this. No, when it came time that he was stressed overall, he needed that. He needed me to be open and loving and affectionate, regardless of the words he was saying, regardless of how he was treating me. He needed me to be there for him in that particular way. And because I had the inability to support him in the way that he needed, it was a seasonal relationship. Because when stress comes, that's what he needed. And I was in a place where I wasn't able to provide it. And I had to come to terms with that. I had to stop trying to force it and say, I genuinely don't have what he needs. And that's okay. So we ended that season and we move forward with love. Because it's not that I'm a bad person, he's a bad person. I know there's always this place where you feel like you need to blame, but you don't have to blame your PMDD partner for the way that they're lacking in the relationship. They're either willing to compromise and provide you with what it is that you need, or they're not. And if they're not, it doesn't always mean that they're choosing not to. They're just like, oh, I could, but I'm just not going to. It may be because they can't. Like me, I had the inability to. I cannot ignore issues and just give you everything that you need. Like I can't do it. And that's okay. So when you're asking yourself these questions, you have to ask yourself, really, really think about it. Is this PMDD relationship for a season or is it for a lifetime? And a lot of that has to do with the amount of effort that your PMDD partner is willing to put in. And a good reset and a good pretty much, hey, I'm willing to do something different for the sake of working on our relationship. Because I did that towards the end. I was like, okay, last resort, let's do this. What is it that people always say when you're on the brink of a breakup? Have you tried counseling? Have you tried talking to someone? Have you tried bringing someone else in? This is what this retreat is all about. It's bringing someone else in because you feel like you're at a last resort, literally last resort with your PMDD partner. Like, hey, or even if you're at that place where you're just like, we may not be on the brink of a breakup, but there are definitely some things that we need to like address and make time for, and we can't keep ignoring them. So if you're in that place, go to my website, inlovewithpmdd.com, go to the link in the show notes and sign up. I can only take a limited amount of clients. I keep saying this because once that retreat is full, like I have to close it out. It's March 1st through the 3rd. It's going to be in Orlando, Florida, in the Sunshine State, right? It's going to be amazing. And there's going to be so much that's packed into this. that you're going to leave feeling like we're reconnected, we're back on the same page. I'm getting my needs met again. Some of you have lost hope. And that's what I'm really seeing and I'm feeling with a lot of my work with my private clients. Some of you are literally, you've lost hope or you're losing hope in your PMDD relationship. And this is a way to restore that. It's not over. It's not, it doesn't have to be over. But for a lot of you, if you don't address the issues, if you don't get to the root of them, it can be. You can literally turn a lifetime relationship into a seasonal one by not taking action, by not compromising, by not addressing the issues, by not using the tools, because PMDD is not going anywhere anytime soon anyway. Every time you go into PMDD, everything that you're suppressing is going to come right back up. And that's what's causing the issues. That's what's causing the breakups. That's what's causing all of the things. It's because you're not taking the time, you're not investing, you're not prioritizing. And hey, we need to do something about this. Every single private client that I have come to me when they've come to me at that point in their relationship. Like, listen, I know this is my person. We're not able to figure this out on our own. We need to do something about this. And if you're in that place, this retreat is exactly what you need. And I will see you there. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to be able to see how you transform just in a matter of 3 days. What I can do for you in 3 days on this retreat is way more than I can do in years of private sessions, because I'm going to be able to get you and your PMDD partner to be completely immersed in the tools, right? So it's for a lot of my private clients, I say, hey, here are the tools, go home and use the tools. I don't know if you're using the tools. Sometimes I'm like, you guys are saying you're using the tools. I know you're not, because there's no way. When I'm monitoring the changes that are happening with private clients, like what is that thing that you say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink? Meaning I can give you the tools like I do here on the podcast every single week. And I have done for years. I have hundreds of episodes. I have done for years, but I can't make you implement the tools. I can't make you use them. It's like if you have a hammer on the table and you're like, oh, the tool doesn't work. Well, have you picked up the hammer and pushed it into the wall? No, you haven't. So then that's why it's not working. Come to this retreat, use these tools, ask me all the questions that you have. It is a completely safe and vulnerable space. It's for you to be open. I've seen it all. I've heard it all. There's nothing that you can say to me that I'll be like, I really don't know what to tell you. I've seen and heard and experienced it all. So I'm going to understand what you're going through. And I want you to just come to this safe place, get your relationship back on track so that you're getting your needs met. That's pretty much the ultimate goal that I have for a lot of my private clients, because I don't like seeing PMDD partners without their needs met, because I know what kind of suffering that leads to. I know the loneliness that's dealt with that. I know what that feels like, to be with someone and feel like you're not with someone, to be lonely while you're in the relationship, all the things. So until the next time, and the next episode, the second part of this series is going to be on signs to know if your relationship is for a lifetime, right? So I will see you on the next episode. We got this. I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship. So you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.